Hey guys, Pedro here to do an album review, and today I'm going to be talking about TesseracT's brand new album, Sonder. It comes out April 20th, and it's the band's 4th studio album. Before I start, I really want to say that this album is really taking me out of my comfort zone, is really taking me into a path that I've never been down before, and has really changed the way I approach albums, and the way I approach album structure, and the way I even approach listening to an album. This band, it's really done something that I hadn't had experience before. It's really made me rethink the way I look at things, the way I look at music, the way I look at even sitting down to listen to an album, the way I approach that process. So this album is really taking me into, like I said, a path that I've never been down before, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I like to explore these paths. I like to explore my own boundaries musically and lyrically when it comes to music. So I really like to test the limits. I really like to see where I can take my growth as far as listening to new music and new bands. I don't like to create labels. I don't like to create boxes and just listening to the bands that fall into those boxes. I really like to open myself and really allow myself to learn about new music and to learn about new ways of creating music, new ways of producing music, new ways of really giving the listener something fresh and something different. So this band has really done that for me, and it was hard for me to really put it into thoughts and words what that experience have been. So I've listened to the album several times, and it really took me several listens, and it really took me a little bit of time to really sit down and gather my thoughts as far as this album was concerned. I'll start by saying this. These guys are really men after my own heart, and I'll explain why. The album has 8 tracks and is 36 minutes in length. I mean, to me, that's a home run. An album that has 8 tracks and 36 minutes in length is a home run for me. And this album, with that many tracks and that duration, really proves that you don't have to have albums that are an hour long and 14 songs to really have quality. It's all about quality, not necessarily quantity. And in this album, I think they really put a stamp on that. They really show that you can make an album very compact with not a lot of songs and still put quality on every single song and then in the album overall. So to me, kudos to these guys for doing an amazing job with that. I really, when I saw 8 tracks, 36 minutes, I was like, wow! Like, I mean, this is unheard of unless you're releasing an EP, you know. So it's really out of the box thinking, but at the same time, really understanding the dynamic of music in today's modern society and how people consume that music. Having said that, once I started listening to the album, I soon realized that this album, to me, it felt like it had a different kind of life, and it felt like it had a different kind of dynamic. This album to me, and I could be out to lunch on this, but this album to me, this is my own personal opinion, feels like one song. It has 8 songs. It's not a concept album. It has 8 songs. Those songs, there are some common themes to the songs, but the songs are very different, very unique from each other. Having said that, there is a fluidity through the songs. Some of the songs really connect with each other in a way that really feels like one ends where the other is starting. And the overall vibe that I had from this album is that the album felt like one song. So if you grab one song and you broke that song into 8 different parts, this is what you would have as far as an album is concerned. So you would have like an intro to the song, maybe, you know, a slower guitar riff would be your intro. So you would have a song that represents that intro of a regular song. Then you would have the bridge, you would have the chorus, you would have the solo, and then you would have the outro. So I really feel like the way the album is structured with these 8 songs, it's really representative of one song, and they broke down the idea of one song into 8 songs. That's the impression that I got, and I thought that was a cool, if that's the vibe and if that's their idea going in, man, I really like that idea. I think it's a really cool concept to have one album that's really made up of one song broken down into 8 songs. I really like that. The other things that I really liked about this album, I really like their progressive approach to metal and to music, with the additions of some atmosphere sounds to it. I mean, they really make each song come to life in their own unique way. And vocally, they really prove that you don't have to have harsh vocals in order to have heavy songs, because the melody in his voice is such, and the range in his voice is such, that while being melodic and while singing almost in a very low tone, it still has a lot of heaviness to his voice and to his tone, and it adds a lot of heaviness to the atmosphere and to the vibe of the song in general. I really like that. I really like his vocals. I really like the dynamics he gives to his vocals and the range of vocals that he has that allows him to use those vocals as an extra instrument. And when the song needs to be heavy, that heaviness not necessarily comes from the guitar riffs or the drums, but it rather comes from his voice. Not going harsh vocals, but just changing the tone enough to give the song the ominous feel to it, darkness and heaviness that it needs for that specific song. I really like that combination, and that is predominant throughout each single song in the album. And like I said, every song is very different and unique. Having said that, they're all flew together. They're all well combined together. There is a fluidity to the album, and they all really feed one off the other. Now, as far as my favorite tracks are concerned, there's 3 tracks that to me were no-brainers. I had to pick these tracks because the moment I listened to the album, they were the ones that spoke to me the most musically and lyrically. They were the ones that really I felt a deeper connection to. But the more I listened to the album, the more I gravitated to these 3 songs. So I'm going to start with Juno. It's the 4th track on the album, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one of the grooviest tracks in the album. It really has some really groovy guitar riffs to it, and add that to the beautiful melancholic voice that is throughout the whole song. It really adds for something dynamic but yet haunting. So it is a very unique song from that perspective, because it's probably one of the grooviest songs, one of the songs that have the grooviest guitar riffs. But once again, that grooviness of the guitar riffs added to the really the deep melancholic voice in the lyrics of this voice and lyrics of this song really add for a strange dynamic that it really works. It's dynamic and haunting. It's dynamic and slow paced at the same time. It's really weird to explain, but the 2 worlds kind of come together and merge into this song, and makes it for a very unique, very different song, and one that immediately, the moment I listened to it, it really did something. And it was so hard for me to put into words how this song really impacted me when I was listening to it. But I felt a really deep connection to it, and when I break it down, it really has to do with that combination of the vocals and the grooviness of the guitar. Another song I have to mention is Luminary. It's the 1st song of the album, and it's such a cool introduction to the album. And it's that song that, to me, if you're looking at the whole album as one song, that song, it really represents the introduction into a song. Would be your intro, would be your guitar intro in your regular song, and that song it fits the bill perfectly, and it's the perfect song to really introduce you to the album, into the journey that you're going to go on with this album. It really combines really well a blend of really cool guitar melodies, really beautiful guitar melodies, with amazing percussions. So those 2 worlds put together really create an intoxicating song. This song, it sets the tone for what the whole album is going to be, and it really puts you in a different state of mind. This is one of those albums that really messes with the way you think and the way you even enjoy the music. I mean, this is one of those albums that you could easily put it on play, turn off the lights, just sit in the dark and just really take it in, because you don't want anything around you to interfere with the listening experience and with the pleasures that come from that listening experience. And more than any other album, I mean, considering this is not a concept album, so for an album that's not a concept album, more than any other album in that range, I really think that this is an album that you really have to listen from song 1 to song 8 to get that full experience, to really feel what I felt, which was that I was listening to one song breaking down into 8 songs. It's hard to understand if you haven't heard the album yet, and I highly recommend you listen to the album and see if you get that same vibe that I did. but it's one of those albums that's really gonna mess with your brain in the way you perceive things. So I really recommend you just taking really the time to just really experience it. You really don't want outside interferences when you're listening to this album, so you could really engulf yourself, immerse yourself into the music and into that experience. Now, the last thing I want to say is my third favorite song. No, I did not forget about my third favorite song, and I'm leaving this one for last specifically because it is my absolute favorite song on the album, and the song is called King. It's the second song of the album. This song gives me a lot of different things, and once again, it's perhaps the song of the album that I felt more in tune with. And a lot of it has to do with the music, but a lot of it has to do with the lyrics and the way those lyrics were presented. The lyrics really spoke to me personally. I really felt the connection with the lyrics. I really felt that I understood the message that the band was giving me with the lyrics on this song. There are a lot of innuendos, if you will, but I think you'll get the point that they're trying to come across once you listen to this song and you pay attention to the lyrics. Now, this song also, you see a little bit of screaming vocals here and there. Not a lot, but in certain parts, certain key parts of the songs, you're gonna get a little bit of screaming vocals. And those screaming vocals, to me, in the scheme of the song, those screaming vocals felt like a jolt of electricity going through your heart. It was almost like you were on life support and you flatline, and the doctor said clear, and at those specific times you just got that huge jolt of energy. That's how those screaming vocals felt to me in this song when they were employed at those specific times. You were not throughout the song, but at just key components, at key specific times of the song, you got those screaming vocals and really took the song to the next level. Also, this is one of those songs that it's one of the heavier songs of the album, and it's incredible that the song, while heavy, there's really no heavy drumming. The riffs are not super heavy, but I really find the heaviness really comes from the tone in the voice. It's almost like a horror movie where you don't see the person being killed, but you know it's happening because you're hearing the sounds of it happening. So in this song, it's almost like the heaviness is given to you, not because the instruments are necessarily heavy, just because you can tell the tone in his voice is changing because the way he feels and what he's singing about is making him feel angry, and that angriness becomes heaviness, if you will. So I really like that dynamic. I really like that. I thought it was a really cool thing. And it really added for a super well-structured, super well-put together song. It also has really incredible guitar melodies, which to me, I'm a huge fan of that. So to me, that was just like the icing on the cake. Anyways, guys, this is it for me. This is TesseracT Sonder. Like I said, their fourth album comes out April 20th. Be sure to check it out. And if you have, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this album? What do you think of the band? And more important, what do you think of my review? Do you think that I'm on it, or do you think I'm way off? What are your opinions? I want to see if your opinions are close to my opinions. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments and replying to them in the comment section below. So don't forget to leave those there. All right, guys, take care. See ya.